Revelation 17 and 8. We talked last week, we talked about how that the false religious system, we talked about Tammuz and all of the secret religions that evolved into the Church of Rome, and how the Church of Rome had persecuted the true churches down through the Dark Ages, all the way through church history. And this is what Wolford says about the origin of the beast and this terrible woman that's riding the beast in the book of Revelation. He said the woman is pictured not only as a source of all evil in apostate Christendom, but also as the one who actively engaged in persecution of the true saints. Her wickedness is demonstrated by the description that she is drunken with the blood of the saints and with the blood of the martyrs of Jesus. Here the primary reference is not to ancient Babylon, but to Babylon perpetuated in apostate Christendom, especially in its future form. It says the history of the church has demonstrated that apostate Christendom is unsparing in its persecution of those who attempt to maintain true faith in Christ. We know that. All right? What has been true in the past will be brought into its ultimate in the future time, when the martyrs will be beyond number from every kindred, tongue, and nation. It goes on down here on page 249. Talks about the beast which you saw. It says the angel first gives a detailed description of the beast in his general character. The beast is explained chronologically, that which was, is not, and is about to ascend from the abyss into perdition. The bottomless pit, the abysson, or abyssos, is the home of Satan and demons, and indicates the power of political empire is satanic in its origin, and is plainly stated in Revelation 13 and verse 4. The word perdition, apolio, means destruction or utter destruction, referring to eternal damnation. The power of the political empire in the last days is going to cause wonder, as indicated in questions in 13 and verse 4. Who is like unto the beast? Who is like unto the beast? Who is able to make war with him? The overwhelming satanic power of the final political empire of the world will be most convincing to the great masses of humanity. It says there is a confusing similarity between the descriptions afforded Satan, who was apparently described as the king over the demons in the abyss in Revelation 9 and verse 11, and the beast that ascended out of the bottomless pit, 11 and verse 7, the beast whose deadly wound was healed, 13 and 3, and the beast of Revelation 17 and 8. The solution to this intricate problem is that there is an identification to some extent of Satan with the future world ruler, and identification of the world ruler with his world government. Each of the three entities is described as a beast. Okay? Only Satan himself actually comes from the abyss. Now, Satan comes into this world in human flesh, and he is the Antichrist, the Antichristos. He is the embodiment of Satan in flesh, as Jesus was in flesh, God in flesh. Here we're going to have Satan in flesh in the last days. Many people think that some ancient horrible ruler will arise from the dead, like Hitler or Stalin, that will rise up. Okay, I don't really believe that. I don't think he'll have to. He's going to be like Stalin. He's going to be like Hitler. I can guarantee he's going to be a killer, a murderer. He's going to have 7 heads, or 7 mountains on which the woman sits. Okay? 7 mountains. In the Bible, what does the Bible say about mountains, usually?
Government.
What?
Authority.
Government. Authority. Governments. Basically governments. And where is the 7-hill city?
Rome.
Rome. We know that. All right? We're going to talk about that just a little bit here. Wilbert identifies that. The first key to the revelation is the statement, 7 heads or 7 mountains go which the woman sets. Many expositors refer to Rome. 7 hills form the nucleus of the ancient city on the left bank of the Tiber. These hills receive names of Palatine, Aventine, Caelion, Esquiline, Vaminal, Quirinal, and Capitoline. All right, these were the names of these hills, okay? Names that have been given to these hills. As Rome grew, however, the hill Juniculum on the other side of the river Tiber was often included among the 7, and Albert does, omitting the Capitoline. Later, the hill Panision on the north of the ancient city was also included in the hills of Rome as the city developed and moved north. The passage in Revelation is taken, therefore, to indicate that the seat of ecclesiastical power will be in Rome, geographically, rather than Babylon. I do want to say this to you, Brother John.
Oh.
You have something to say? All right. Rome has been described as a city of 7 hills indicated in coins, which refer to it in this way, in countless allusions in Roman literature. Victorinus, one of the first to write a commentary on the book of Revelation, identified the 7 mountains as the city of Rome. Okay? The 7 heads of the beast, however, are said to be symbolic of 7 kings, described in verse 10. 5 of these are said to have fallen. 1 is contemporary in existence, and that is in John's lifetime. And the 7th is yet to come and will be followed by another described as the 8th, which is the beast himself. Okay? Referring to the 7 kings, which represent 7 successive forms of a kingdom. Now, all of these kingdoms that it's talking about evidently have been set up by Satan, or satanic influence. We know from the book of Daniel and Ezekiel, we see great forces of angelic beings behind every nation. Behind every war, there are satanic forces. Did you know that? We got lots of satanic forces behind in the Middle East today, warring and warring and warring, and stirring up more and more and more war. It says, these 7 kings who represent 7 successive forms of the kingdom. Because the 7 heads are identified with kings in verse 10, some prefer to divorce the meaning from the city of Rome entirely and center the ultimate fulfillment in a rebuilt Babylon on the site of ancient Babylon. Now, this is coming, some of the modern commentators think that actually the city from where this man will rule will be ancient Babylon instead of Rome. I don't care whether it's in Babylon or where it's in Rome. It doesn't really make any difference to me. It's going to have one source of power, and that's Satan himself. They talk about rebuilding the city of Babylon right now. And there's going to be great big amusement parks in it. They're going to build this thing back up, and it's going to be absolutely fantastic. It's going to be a great, wonderful, wondrous economic power of the world. Okay?
How about Dubai? You don't think it's going to be Dubai?
Wherever it is, it doesn't matter in location where it is, but we know that Satan is going to be behind this government. Everything that's moving today basically has Satan behind it and God's stamp of approval, because he is a what? He is allowing it. Okay? He's allowing it to take place. We know that all of this is going to take place. We look at these. He has given us by his revelators. We've got the book of Joel, we've got the book of Amos, we've got Ezekiel, and we've got Daniel, Micah, the book of Revelation, 1st and 2nd Peter, 1st and 2nd Thessalonians, book of Jude, in some way, talking about eschatology. All right? The Bible has a lot to say about eschatology. All right. Of these 7 regal mountains, John was told that 5 are fallen, dead, passed away, their day is over. The one is, that is, and standing at that moment, was then to sway power. The other is not yet come, and when he shall come, he will continue for a little while. What regal mountain, then, was in power at the time of John wrote? There could be no question at the point it was the Roman Empire. That's who it was. Okay? Thus, then we ascertain to identify the 6th in the list, which shows what sort of kings the angel meant. There are 5 others, 5 which have already run their course and passed away. But when 5 imperial mountains, like Rome, have been gone, and up to what time. In histories so obscure as not to tell us with unmistakable certainty. All right? Preceding Rome, the world had but 5 great names in nationalities, answering to imperial Rome. Those scarce in schoolboy ought to miss that Greece and Persia, Babylon, Assyria, and Egypt, no more, no less. These were the ancient empires, okay, that it's talking about. They have rose and they have fallen. The 7th is not yet, and when it comes, it will endure for a short time. Talking about the 10 horns and the beast here. Now let's go into the book of Revelation, and let's see what it has to say, Brother.
I've heard before that the 10 horns mean that it's a 10 different continents meeting.
There's 10 kingdoms.
10 kingdoms?
Yeah, 10 kingdoms.
And like 3 of them were like kind of put away or something, or
Yeah.
they rebel, or...
Something. We're going to get there.
Oh, okay.
All right, we're going that way. Just not quite ready for that.
Okay.
All right. All right. 17 and verse 8, Brother John.
The beast that you saw was and is not, and is about to come up out of the abyss and to go to destruction. And those who dwell on the earth will wonder, whose name has not been written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they see the beast, that he was and is not and will come.
All right. Let's look and see what it says in the original language. The word beast there is therion. Therion means what? A swift running, killing machine, like a land shark. Okay, I've said that a lot of times. That's what he's like, a great white on land. Boy, that would be something, wouldn't it?
Like Thresher?
A great white on land. Nothing fools a great white out in the ocean except a killer whale. Okay? Killer whales. A great white on the land. That's what I always think about therion. All right? Which you saw, he kept on being. He continued for a while. And not he is. And he is about to come up out of the abyss. It's talking about the different kingdoms. All of these kingdoms have had Satan behind them in this world. When Jesus came to this earth, when he was tempted, Satan took him up on a high mountain, it says, and showed him all the kingdoms of the earth. Did it say that? Did it not say that? And he said, I can give all of these to you. Why could he give them to him? Because he had authority over them. He had power over all the kingdoms. That's a fact. He has power over the kingdoms today. Power over the kingdom. All right? He's about to come up out of the abyss, out of the abysson, the bottomless pit. That means no bottom, literally is what it means. Abyss. Alpha and beast.
So
No bottom.
Is that the same thing as a Sheol or a She?
This is the bottomless pit. Sheol is a place of departed spirits.
Oh.
All right, same as Hades. This is the abysson. This is a holding place of some sort. Unto destruction he goes. And they shall wander. They shall be caused to wander. The ones dwelling or down-homing upon the earth, of whom not has it been written the name of the Biblion, of the little book of the scroll of life, from the foundation of the world system, the whole cosmic origin. God in time past saw this. And then in the last word it says seeing. Present participle active. Seeing the beast that he kept on being and not he is and he shall be. All right? He shall literally stand for himself, literally be beside being. He shall be present. That's what it means. He shall become present. All right? He's going to be here.
Oh,
Yes.
back up a minute. They see the beast that he was, and
Uh-huh.
is not, and will come.
Yeah.
Explain a little more detail.
Okay, all the kingdoms of the earth, all of these kingdoms from before Jesus Christ, all the kingdoms of this earth except for Israel, their king, their master was Satan. Okay? Their master was Satan. Period. All of those kings have lived and died. Now there's one more going to come up. He's going to rule for a little while, and that one is going to have Satan behind his. It's going to be his masterpiece of government. Satan's masterpiece of government in the last days, okay? Are you with me now?
Almost.
All of these kingdoms have been Satan's kingdoms.
Except for
There is going to be another one, except for Israel. And Satan got a hold of that one too, didn't he? Well, did they or not crucify their king?
They did.
So who had a hold of it then? That's when God dispersed that rascals. All right? But he's going to deal with them. And that during this period of time, the whole tribulation period is bring Israel back to God so he can use them on this earth. And we will have a theocratic kingdom again. Theocratic kingdom, what does that mean?
God.
Ruled by God. All right. Ruled by God. Why? Calvin tried to get one. He called it the city of God when he tried to rule his kingdom on earth, didn't he? He legislated righteousness. I got news for him. That one was Satan's kingdom too. It wasn't the Lord's. 17 and verse 9 now. 17 and verse 9. Brother Rex, are you there?
9.
Yeah.
Here is the mind which has wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sits. Can you go on?
Yeah, well, that's all the way through verse 9.
And they are 7 kings. 5 have fallen, 1 is, and the other has not yet come.
All right.
When he comes, he must remain a little while.
All right, now let's go on. That's talking about these kingdoms of Lucifer. All right, these kingdoms that are ruled by Satan. All right, Uday is what it starts out here. Uday. Those of you who have your in linear open.
That's Saddam Hussein's kid name.
Uday.
Uday.
Yeah. Here is what that means. Uday. Hear the mind of the one having wisdom, the one having Sophia. All right, that's godly wisdom. All right, wisdom. The 7 heads, the hepte kaphali, the 7 heads, 7 mountains. They are 7 heads are 7 governments. Okay, 7 governments. So this is what it's talking about. We're not so much talking about the 7 literal hills of Rome, are we? We're talking about 7 governments. Okay, we're talking about the 7 governments. They are hupo, from where the woman, she sits upon them. Now, women in the Bible, we just got a few women here tonight. But when the Bible talks about women, most of the time it's in a very negative way. Women are usually false religion. They are seductresses in types in the Bible. We're not talking about you girls now, okay? But they are seductresses. They are false religions. They are perpetrators of lies into the home and whatever. All right. We have the woman that hid the leaven in the meal in the parables of Jesus. That woman was what? She was evil. All right. She hid it, and that leaven always stands for what in the Bible?
Yeah.
Sin and impurity. As you look and see, we see the great. The Lord calls His churches His bride, doesn't He? All right. But God, when God called out His little assembly, Satan developed many. He developed so many religious systems in the world that the world is totally confused. It's very confusing out there in religious conglomeration, isn't it? The religious goulash of the world. Now the state and church are going to be one again. We always had that problem, didn't we? The state churches. Oh, yes.
Because of the different doctrines of all the different churches. Like, I know, will they be judged? Will they be judged like if they love the Lord, but they have the wrong doctrine? Or leaders?
If people are saved in those churches, it's probably by mistake, or whatever. A lot of them, it's by accident. Okay, the Holy Spirit works, even out there in false churches. If somebody can get convicted of sin, righteousness, judgment to come, if there's enough preaching of the Bible at all where they can be saved, God will save them. Okay. But the Lord will get glory from His churches that He founded on this earth. That is His churches. Now there's every flavor and shade of them in the world existing today. from a little bit wrong to all wrong. Okay? That's just the way it is. And the more and the further we go in time, guess what? I remember Brother Madden said this many years ago. He said, everybody's always talking about these Southern Baptists being heretics. He said, missionary Baptists is exactly where Southern Baptists were 20 years ago. He said, 20 years from now, he said, we'll be right there where they are today. He said, just figure that out. He said, that's the way it's going. I never thought I'd see things that they are today. I never thought I'd see the song services and things that in churches today that I do. It's like a rock concert, to tell you the truth. Just copying the world, isn't it? But that's the way it is. That's what people want today. And it works, doesn't it? You get people in there, don't you? You do it. It happens. People go to that.
There was a church in Anaheim that was saluting gay and lesbians, letting them in the church and saying it was all good. They were sorry. They were apologizing for being so harsh for all the years, because now they've turned a new leaf, and now they're like really godly people because they let the gay and lesbians in.
Yep.
They've been in the White House in the last month, you know.
Well,
Parties.
these things happen in churches today. The ones that accept that openly, I wouldn't even call them churches. Would you?
I would.
All right, I wouldn't call them churches. Okay?
Kind of talking about the church of Laodicea in Revelation.
Yeah, that's right. We
That's
were
where
living
we're
in the
at.
Laodicean age, people. God said, I'm about to vomit you out of my mouth. I can't. You make me sick. All right? All right. The kings, 7 they are. Basileus, 7 they are. All right? And this woman sits upon them. She's going to ride these kingdoms. That woman is a false religious system in the world. And that woman is going to be church and state are one. The state will support the preachers. The state will pay the preachers. The state will license the preachers. In some real conservative Baptist churches today, do you know that they'd exclude you if you went down and got a license and got married? Did you know that?
Why?
Because the license is the state's license to get married. God's churches for about 1,800 years never would allow that in any Baptist churches. The Catholic Church started to control the masses. All right? They had church burial grounds. Baptists even started having church cemeteries in some Baptist churches for a long time. You had to pay the Catholic Church to get married. You had to get a license to get married, and you had to get a license to get married. All right? And of course, the Catholic Church then also, you had to be baptized. And when you were baptized, you became a member of the church. And you had to do that within so many days of getting born. So they had control over the masses. Baptists for many, many years would not allow their members to be married with a license of the state. Only in the last 50 years has that been going on.
So you had to get one from the church?
No.
Or
The minister would perform a marriage ceremony. That marriage took place between a
Common
woman
law.
and a man. And they would write their name down in their family Bible. And that's where that's all the license
And
that
that's
they had.
legal too, you know.
Huh? It's legal, yeah. It's legal. But about 1950 something, the United States government said you've got to be married by license. All right? You've got to have a state license to get married. And the churches went along with that. They went along with that because we're just going to be like everybody else in the system. Do you see sometimes how we get sucker punched too? Also and things like that. This Baptists died for this for hundreds and hundreds of years, and all of a sudden we accept that.
The Anti-Baptist?
Yeah, the
Well, they-
Anabaptists, not
they-
anti-Baptists.
Yeah, I'm
those are
sorry.
against
Anti.
Baptists.
Sorry.
Anabaptists,
Anabaptists.
rebaptizers. They wouldn't accept anybody else's baptism. That's why they call them Anabaptists. All right. In the primitive Baptist churches today, some of what they call the hard shell Baptists today, they will not allow, they would exclude a church member for going down and getting married according to the license of the state. They would exclude you,
How do we do it here?
just like everybody else in the world does.
Go
License?
get a license.
Just like the rest of the world, all right? just like the rest of the world. Okay. Now let's look at 17 and verse 10. That's just one of the things. You think how we're going to get sucker punched? How people are going to get drawn into this system in the last day? Now we do that because that's the right thing to do. They'd exclude you from church in the Southern Baptist Church if you didn't have a license. 50 years ago, they excluded you if you did. Things changed, haven't they? Is it going the way it's supposed to go?
Probably according to Satan.
Well, just study church history. That'll surprise you. It'll just blow your lid off somehow. Brother John, 17 and verse 10.
And there are 7 kings, 5 have fallen, one is, the other has not yet come. And when he comes, he must remain a little while.
All right. Let's look at this one now. Mr. Wolford, he doesn't get real deep in Greek sometimes. I mean, he's all right. But he states here that the word there, or the ones, isn't in the original Greek language. I got a little bit of difference with it. Because it is. Hoi there, that is a the. That's a nominative plural, okay? Nominative plural masculine. Now, when you have the down there is a practical substantive that is understood in which it means the ones, okay? So it is there. There's your practical substantive. The ones, they fell. They tiptoed. They stumbled. They fell. And the one, all right? And the one, again, the one, practical substantive. The one, he is, and the other one, not yet he has come. And whenever he may come, a little while, olikon, a little while, him it is bindingly necessary to remain. All right? Just a little while. Just a little while. It's bindingly necessary for him to remain. Okay? 17 and verse 11. 17 and verse 11. Let's look at that one now. Brother Mike, are you there? Have you got Marilyn? Are you over there?
Yeah.
I'm going to get you to it. I haven't get you to read yet. 17 and verse 11. Just shout that out real loud like you're hollering at me across the house. Not that loud.
The beast which was and is not is himself also an eighth and is one of the 7, and he goes to destruction.
All right. Now here this eighth is, he's one of the 7. Why is he one of the 7?
He's revived.
He's revived. All right, he's revived. But all of these have one origin, don't they? Who is their author? Who is the one that energizes them? Satan himself. All right, Satan himself. And the swift-running beast, the therion, the land shark, which kept on being, and not he is, even he, the 8th he is, and out of the 7 he is, and unto destruction, or to hell he goes.
I
All
want
right.
to ask you something.
Yes.
Why do they put in and is not if he's still around?
He died.
What?
He died.
He died?
All right, the same energizer in all of these ancient kings is in the new king. All right? And the last one, the last beast, the last therion now, is going to be the embodiment of Satan in flesh. I can't say that enough. This old story about Rosemary's Baby, the movie and everything, and Arnold Schwarzenegger. I don't think much of Arnold Schwarzenegger. I'm going to tell you something. I don't like that guy. Okay? Period. I don't have any use for the man. Okay? But I know that he starred in a movie, because I see it on billboards and different things. Different times. He was a guard of Satan's bride.
The end.
Of the, is that the name of the thing?
Uh-huh,
The end.
called The
All
End.
right, he's going to be the guard of this Satan's bride. He's guarding her.
Yeah, and it
Right.
came out before Y2K or whatever it was. They thought 2000 was going to be the year of the Antichrist or something.
Well, I remember the churches were all filled up and everything else about that time. Right after 9/11, the churches are all filled up.
Everybody's
Now the
churches.
churches are all empty again. That's just the way it is. The faithful are always here anyway, aren't they?
Seemed like
The faithful are here. All right. 7 and verse 12. 7 and verse 12. Brother Mike. Now.
And the 10 horns which you saw are 10 kings who have not yet received a kingdom, but they receive authority as kings with the beast for 1 hour.
All right, now here we have the 10 horns, which are 10 kingdoms. Simple as that. There are 10 nations. Many people have been looking for the 10 common market nations. You know, we looked about that for, you know, they were talking about this for a long time because there was only 6 and 7 and 8 and so on and so forth. 10 common market nations. Those are the Western nations. For one reason or another, they have always got figured out that these Western nations are going to be under the Antichrist. They're pretty much all expositors have figured that out. Now, in our economy right here, where are we? What part of the world are we? What block are we in? America.
Western.
The Western bloc. So guess what? If America is here at this period of time, if it exists, she is going to be under the Antichrist. Who is going to be fighting the Antichrist? Just think about this for a while. It's really a weird thing. We talk about how horrible Russia is and how terrible China is and how the Muslim world is and all this kind of stuff out there. But who's going to be fighting the Antichrist in the end times?
Probably them.
They're going to be fighting the Antichrist.
Right.
They're also going to be fighting Israel at the
That's
same
right.
time.
Because the Antichrist is going to be over Israel. And all the Western bloc is under Israel, basically. We see this. God has allowed some weird stuff in history, hasn't he? Has anybody ever heard of the Rothschilds?
Yeah.
Huh?
Illuminati.
The Illuminati and the Rothschilds. Do the Rothschilds really exist?
Sure.
What do you think?
They said the
Satanic
Masons
powered-
ran the Illuminati.
Huh?
They said the Masons ran the Illuminati.
Name some other names besides the Rothschild.
Well, let's think about that. We're just talking about this for once. Well, let's just go this way. Don't go all the way out there
All
and
their
shoot a
stuff
big
on the
double
money.
barrel
All their stuff on the
shotgun.
money.
What?
All the Mason
Yeah, the
symbols
big-
are on the money.
Well,
Powerful
now
families.
let's go back. Okay? Let's go back to the Rothschilds. Who are the Rothschilds? What nationality are the Rothschilds?
French? Yeah, French.
Jew.
Jewish.
Oh.
Jewish. All right, they're Jewish. Now, for the last 200 years, who has profited from all the wars that just kept getting richer and richer and richer?
Rothschild.
The Rothschilds. How many mansions and palaces did they have, Marilyn?
41.
41 palaces in Europe. 41 giant palaces. Who has backed all of the wars that's ever existed in modern time?
Not just
Since the
them, but
Napoleonic Wars.
Rothschild.
The Rothschilds.
more than just
Okay.
them, ain't it?
You didn't know this?
I didn't.
All right, this is a fact now. This is a fact.
Satanically empowered.
All right. As a matter of fact, the Rothschilds, they during from World War I on this way, they used to make. There was cartoons. Remember how back in the early part of the 1900s, they had all kinds. In the late 1800s, they had all kinds of cartoons in newspapers. People had these engravings. And there were so many engravings of these hook-nosed Jews. They had a hook-nosed Jew out there, and with these claws and talons, and the Rothschilds and the Jews doing all these terrible things to the world. They controlled the world banking system.
Pretty good job.
You know, through this system,
Good day job.
they got control of the Middle East and Europe. They so rubbed those Germans' nose in the dirt and the ground over there, politically after World War I, that all Hitler did was put back into works. He tried to put from paper into works the things that Luther had written about the Jews. Put them in concentration camps, neuter them, kill them.
Martin Luther?
Get rid of them, Martin Luther. Martin Luther called for the destruction of the Jews ever since his time in Germany. After the Rothschilds did what they did to the world, Hitler really used that to go after them because of their monopolizing on all the world wars. Brother Rex.
He didn't follow the Rothschilds though in France.
Well,
Probably with all that wealth.
the Rothschilds made lots of money on that. The Rothschilds even were involved in the United States Civil War. Did you know that? This is all public history. This is history. Okay? I'm not saying anything here that's secret. This is nothing secret about what I just said tonight. There's nothing
Common knowledge.
covert or anything else. This is public domain facts. Period. Okay? There's nothing unusual or anything about what I said tonight as far as history goes. All history books now, many nations. My second time teaching on Sunday, my throat just gives out. I don't know what is part of that tumor in my throat or what it is, but it worries. I can't hardly talk. I just run out of voice. I forgot where I was going with this now. I lost my voice.
Rothschild's history.
The Rothschilds and history. America. They control America. They made money on every war that's ever been fought.
Civil War, you said, yeah.
Since the Napoleonic Wars, even in the early European wars, all right,
Like Lewis and
down
Clark,
to
right?
today. Okay? We look at this one little thing. They got enough money to actually back the nation of Israel back in the land of Israel again. The regathering of Israel. Was God pleased with what they were doing? I'm sure He wasn't. With all the underhanded things that were pulled, all the pork. They invented the stock market. Did you know that? They invented all this stuff. That's where it all came from.
That's how they can make more money.
Yeah, they showed how fortunes could be wagered and lost. It's like throwing dice, except they loaded the dice.
Yeah, they always do it to get out.
All right, but all of this happened. Now God allowed this to happen, didn't He? Was God pleased with what Hitler did in World War II? But He allowed it, didn't He? He allowed it to happen. It put a drive in those Jews to go back to that promised land, like into the Holy Land, to the land of Palestine, like never they had before. They wanted to get back home. All right? They wanted to get back home. God used that. He allowed it to happen, Brother X.
Wasn't that a way, in a sense,
Talk up just a little bit. I can't.
in a sense, wasn't He punishing the Jews and waking them up to go back home?
He allowed, remember we're studying the book of Judges. God allowed them to be punished by these rascals and we'll pull them out. All we're doing and seeing in modern times is the same story over again. The same story over and over again. We have people that go away from God, God punishes them, and then He has a rescuer, somebody that rescues, a redeemer from them.
Yeah.
We live in the last time right now. We live in the regathering of Israel, and we know that all the nations are set up exactly like they're supposed to be right now. Go ahead.
So you think He allowed the Rothschilds to become this wealthy so He can go back and help the Jews?
So they could get the Jews back in the land. He allowed Hitler to rise and fall. Hitler, Satan was behind him, and God let him, He had him on a chain. He allowed him to do what he did. Okay? Remember how God put Satan on a chain with Job in the book of Job? Job is probably the oldest book in the Bible. And that tells us what Satan, Lucifer, was doing way back when. How he has messed around with mankind. God allows His permissive will. It is not God's direct will that we should have famine, disease, all these storms and everything else going on in the world. It's not God's will that happens. All of the terrible things that happen in the world, that's not God's will. It's what man does to man. And the 666 in the book of Revelation, the 666, that's what man does to man when man is turned totally loose on each other. They will totally destroy each other. Number 17 now. Verse number 17, chapter 17 and verse 12. All right, 17 and verse 12. Brother John, do you want to read that one?
And the 10 horns which you saw are 10 kings, which have not yet received the kingdom, but they receive authority as kings with the beast for 1 hour.
All right, for a hour, it's a horah. We got a word hour right out of that. How do we spell hour in English? Let's look at that for just a moment. Hour. This word hour comes right out. There's hour. Does that sound like hour? Huh?
Age and hour.
Yeah. Well, here it is in Greek. The word in Greek. There you go. That's it. Even got the H on there, doesn't it? How Haran. All right. There we have it. Hour for an hour. An hour is a 60-minute period of time. And we talk about an hour. Now, when you're in great pain, an hour is a long time. I remember when I was laying down in that hospital, down after my cancer surgery in Burbank, California. I told them not to give me any pain medication except for morphine. For some reason, they gave me something else. Dilaudid. I don't sleep when I have pain medicine. I stay awake. I don't sleep at all. The pain medicine just messes me up. I can't sleep. For 3 days, I did not sleep after that. My blood sugar went sky high. My blood pressure went sky high. I was in terrible misery. And I watched the clock. And the second hand didn't even move. It is set there at the same time. Time just went on and on and on. And I laid there and lived eternity in 1 hour. In pain and misery and suffering. Horrible. Boy, an hour could be a long time when you're in that kind of shape. An hour is a long time when you're in hell. An hour is a long time when you're burning in a fire. But an hour is a short period of time when it comes to eternity. And that's what it's talking about. And the 10 horns, the karatah, that word carrot, we get our word carrot right out of this horn. A horn looks at fruit, or vegetable that is, and you are 10 kings. You saw there are 10 kings who, kingdom not yet, they received but authority. Way back when John was writing, it says, in the future, there are going to be 10 kings. He said there's going to be 10 kingdoms with 10 kings over them. And they're going to take place and they're going to exist for a short period of time. This is going to be the kingdoms that the Antichrist is over. All right? That this great beast is over. And they received their authority from Satan and from the beast. All right? 7 and verse 13, Brother Mike.
These have one purpose, and they give their power and authority to the beast.
All right. These have one mind. That's what the word is. They have one nous, nume, one knowledge. The word knowledge comes from this word, knowledge. All right. It comes from gnosko in Greek. Let's look at this here. We look at all the different words. Teach you a little Greek while I'm teaching you the Bible here, okay? Okay, our word knowledge. Here it is, something like that, okay? All right. Gnosko and knowledge. You see how much like that? It starts with a G here, and it starts with a knowledge.
Okay.
Oh, boy. I get Greek mixed up with my English so much, I can't even write in English. Knowledge, all right? Knowledge. 2 words. Knowledge means mind. When you have knowledge, you have done what to your mind? You have worked on it. You spend some time learning when you have knowledge, okay? Knowledge. I went to college for about 12 years, trying to stir up something up there, trying to fertilize and cultivate a little bit of brains in there to learn some things. And every time, Brother Farrar kept saying to me, when you've gone to school and you've got your doctorates and you got all your degrees, you'll only just get a license to learn. That's all, just a license to learn. Now I know that he was right. When you learn Greek and you learn Hebrew and you learn a little Latin, a little German, and a few other languages to throw in there, all you got is tools to learn. That's all. You can read the ancient commentaries, you can read the Bible in Greek and Hebrew, and then you can read the commentaries that talk about it and the Greek and the Hebrew grammars. That's all you've got, just tools to learn. Tools to learn. When George Washington became the first president of the United States, my voice is gone. When George Washington became president of the United States, he looked upon himself as one of the most ignorant men in that great body of legislators. Did you know that? You know why?
He didn't know Greek.
He did not know Greek, and he did not know Latin. He could not read any of the ancient histories or classics in the original languages. If you couldn't read Greek and Latin at that period of time in the 16 and 1700s, you were considered an ignoramus. Ignorant. You know that George Washington wouldn't even write his own speeches. He had somebody else write them. Did you know that?
But he could win a war, though.
Huh?
He could win a war.
He was a good general.
Yeah.
He was a real good general. But he felt like he was ignorant. He felt very ignorant because he was not educated, that he could not read the classics. Thomas Jefferson read the classics in the original languages. Thomas Jefferson was the one they picked to do a lot of writing because he could read the classics. And he was a very educated, well-read man in his time. George Washington had others. When his great farewell speech, did you know that George Washington didn't even write it? He didn't feel qualified to write his farewell address.
Might have been John Adams.
Hmm?
Could have been John Adams.
All right. The mind, the knowledge, the mind, and the power and the authority of them, the beast gives. He gives them the understanding and all the power to get where they're going. All right? He's the one. 17 and verse 14 now. We're clipping along here. 17 and verse 14. Brett, you got a Bible in your hand?
I know.
No Bible in hand. Mary Lynn,
Yes, I have it here.
17 and verse 14.
Yeah.
Well, I like, what Bible have you got there?
The pretty one.
Oh, the pretty one. All right, that's good.
You want me to start?
Yeah.
These will wage war against the Lamb, and the Lamb will overcome them, because he is Lord of lords and King of kings, and those who are with him are the called and chosen and faithful.
All right, let's look at this now. Let's look at this. He will wage war with the Lamb. This and these ones, they will make war with the Lamb. Who are these ones?
The nations?
The 10 kingdoms. They're going to fight against God. All right? Now, I tell you what, if you got God on your side, you've got the majority. Do you know that? If you got God on your side, I don't care how many nations are out there, 150, 250 nations, doesn't matter. You're still in the majority if you got God on your side. These 10 kings over the western nations, they're going to wage war with the Lamb. And he shall conquer. Third person singular, future, indicative, active. He shall conquer them because the Lord of lords he is. Kurios, kurion. What is that in Hebrew? Adonai ha'adanim. All right? The Lord of lords. Jehovah. However you say that word, we say that in English really well. That's a King James idea of the word. That's the word right there. We don't know how to say it. Jehovah. Adonai ha'adanim. Jehovah, the Lord of lords and King of kings and Lord of lords and King of kings. It just kept kind of being, it just keeps using that word over and over again. The Lord of lords and King of kings. He is the King of kings. And Lord of lords. All right? The King of kings and the ones with him, the ones called the elect. Who is the elect? There's two elected groups in the Bible.
Israel and the church.
All right, the church isn't here, is it? The church is gone. So now, who is the elect here?
The church. Be
Israel. Israel. They're his elect. Two elected groups in the Bible. One is Israel and one is the church. Now the church is gone, so the church isn't there. All right. So he is going to make, now who is the Antichrist going to try to kill? For the first 3.5 years in the Bible, or in the tribulation period in the Bible, it talks about, we have a honeymoon here.
Yeah, he wants to kill all the believers because they're messing his. He wants to kill all the believers because they're like the bad
Well,
people.
but let's go back again. Let's go back and do a little history here. First part of the tribulation period, the Antichrist himself makes a contract with Israel, a covenant with Israel. That covenant is how long?
3.5 years.
For 7 years. It's a
7.
7-year covenant. Now, he's going to have, there's going to be a certain amount of religious freedom. A little bit. In those Western nations, there's going to be a little bit. The Jews are going to start their sacrifices again, aren't they? Well, aren't they? They're going to start their sacrifice. They're going to have a temple in Jerusalem. They're going to start their sacrifices. There's going to be a one-world religious system there. And there will be a little bit of toleration in every one of those. It's going to be what we call the ultimate ecumenical movement at this period of time. Everybody's okay. All right? Everybody's okay. Whatever you believe is okay. This is where the churches like you're talking about down south, everything's okay. Everything's all right.
You homo.
Well, we're sorry. Everything, you just go and believe what you want to, do whatever, you know. This is going to be the ultimate ecumenical movement now. And all of a sudden, right in the middle of the week, right in the middle of that 7-year period, and the covenant that the Antichrist made with Israel, he's going to stand up and go to the temple in Jerusalem and say, I am God. Worship me now. Now it says that many of them are going to bow down. He said, like the whole world is going to wonder at him, they're going to fall down and kiss his feet.
That's why I think
All
Obama's
right? But what's going to happen with true Israel? The true ones in Israel now. The elect, what are the elect going to do? He told them to flee. Get out of here. When you see this takes place, get out of here and go down to the city of rocks, to Petra. And it says that the Antichrist armies go after Israel. Israel's fleeing down there now. Israel woke up now. And he said, you won't see me again until you say what? Blessed and holy is the name. He that came in the name of the Lord. And then they're going to call upon him. And during this period of time, he's going to number 144,000 of them and seal them. Some of them are going to get killed in the mustering here of all these armies. There's going to be armies mustered. Some of them are going to be killed. There's going to be 2/3 of the Jews killed during this period of time, aren't there? 2/3 of them. 2 out of every 3. But these 144,000 are going to be sealed, and those that take off fast enough. And by the city of the rooftops, what he talked about, he said, if you see this happen, he said, don't go down to the house, take off and run from jump to house and get out of here. He said, if you don't do it, it's going to be too late. So for some of them, it's going to be too late. Too late. But then the major portion of them gets down there, and then what happens? The Antichrist comes after him with his armies. And I don't want to go into that too much ahead of time because the earth is going to open up somehow or other. God is going to use the earth to swallow up the armies of the Antichrist. Natural forces like earthquakes and maybe storms or whatever are going to kill them. All right? 17 and verse 15. 17 and verse 15. 17. Yes, Brother Rex.
I never understood why he says he will guarantee Israel peace for 7 years. Why only 7 years?
It's a conditional covenant with the nations, all the nations around, all the nations in that western bloc. They're going to allow Israel to start their sacrifices. They're not going to try to go in there and try to kill them. You know, right now, they wouldn't let them put a temple out there. Evidently, the Antichrist is going to build a temple there, right on top of the holy mountain. Okay, maybe, evidently, maybe they're going to knock down the Mosque of Omar. Something's going to happen to that Mosque of Omar somehow or another. But because that's what the temple is supposed to be. All right? And they're going to build a temple, and they're going to have their sacrificial services. They're going to have their priesthood and all this stuff again. All is going to take place. And he's going to make a covenant with them. There's going to be a 7-year covenant. A lot of covenants will last so long. There's what we call peace treaties. Some of them are perpetual, and some of them are for 2 years, 3 years, whatever. You know, they're a different kind of covenant. Remember what those called, Brother Brett? You've gone into college and all this stuff lately. Those different covenants. Can you name some of them that were for a certain period of time?
Well, I think there's like a universal covenant for Noah, for all mankind. There's like the priestly line for Moses.
Okay, no, you're off on the wrong thing.
Then what are you asking?
NATO. We're talking about NATO. We're talking about different ones. Who can get in here? The common markets, all the different, the European Union, and all that kind of stuff. These things are for periods of time, and there are conditions on those covenants. All right. This is a political covenant.
The
Okay.
New World Order, you mean?
Yeah, it's the New World Order. Okay. Because that's going to be. This is going to be part of the New World Order that we're talking about. Let's go to 17 and verse 15, and then I'm going to turn you loose on the world.
I'll let Brett read it.
Brett, 17 and verse 15. You get to read. Now read out there just like he's a preacher, okay?
Yeah, okay.
Not upside down now. I know you don't have to do that.
Okay, so what is 17 and 15?
Yeah.
Okay. And he said to me, the waters which you saw where the harlot sits are the peoples and multitudes and nations of tongues.
All right. Now the waters. We're talking about many waters now, and the waters that this woman sets over are many people. Many, many people. Many waters. And he says to me, the waters which is you saw where the harlot, all right, this prostitute, this harlot, the word is porne, she sets peoples and crowds. Look at that word okloi there. Okloi. Now the word oklos in the Bible, oklos, you know that Jesus had okloses and oklois that came and heard him preach? An oklos is up to 5,000 to 7,000 people. That's what an oklos is. An okloi is 15,000 and above. There were times that more than 15,000 people heard Jesus preach at a time. He preached to many, many people. All right? That's the word oklois there. And they are in nations and languages. All right? Nations and languages. And we'll start out next week at 17 and verse 16. Do you have any questions? Last time I taught this book from Greek, it was in 2001. 2001. That was a long time ago. And I quit on verse 15. In 10/17, 10/17/2001, that's on my son's birthday. Then that was 8 years ago that I preached this last time. Do you have any questions?
We're almost there.
We're almost there.
We're even closer to the rapture.
We're closer to the rapture than we were last week, I can guarantee you that
I'm
much.
gonna call you guys. I gotta get
Does that make you feel good?
I gotta get back up there. I didn't realize it was right so late.
All right.
I was gonna
Tell your dad I said hi, and that we're praying for him. We prayed for him at the beginning of the class.
Oh, thank you so much. Guys.
All right. Pray for your dad.
I'll call you guys. Thank you.
What's his first name?
Randy.
Randy. All right. Randy Johnson.
Randy Johnson. Thank you.
All right. All right. Do you have any? I'm turning you loose now. You got any more questions? No? Surely you don't have a question? No? All right. Well, let's have a word of prayer, and we're going to turn you loose on the world out there. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for your word today. Hide it in our hearts and help us, convict us of sin, righteousness, and judgment to come. Help us be the kind of people that you want us to be in our lives. And I pray for all of the prayer requests that we've had, especially for Randy Johnson right now that is coming through this aneurysm that he had in his brain. Watch over him. And the other ones that we mentioned earlier tonight, please watch over these. Help us to glorify you with our lives, and help us to go out this week and do something glorious and eternal for you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. I am very famous. If you go to discovertheword.com and sermonaudio.com/DTW, you will find that out. 40,000 people a month listen to me preach in the world, all over. And there are hundreds and hundreds of hours of my teaching on those websites. And you can go there and you can see it for yourself. And those Jehovah's Witnesses know who I am. I've met them several times in town I've talked with them. Some of them have been personal friends of mine. I have tried to talk to them. One of them was an elder, very famous elder. I'm not going to mention his name because I love him very much. But I was leading his son to the Lord one day. He brought another woman. I was working with them in a shop, and they got back early on Saturday because they go out and witness every time. And the boy came in with his friend that they had been out from door to door, and they started jumping on me, trying to convert me. And so I came back with the Bible with them, and I had both of them. The boy was ready to be saved. He said, I don't want to go to him. There's no hell. And I showed him in the Bible where there was, and it was real, and everything else, and he was ready to be saved, and guess who walks in the door? Right at the time, I'm going to pray with that boy. His dad and the other elders had stopped it. But I never quit witnessing, and they are responsible for what they heard. They are. Now, I'm going to let you dismiss you and turn you loose on the world out there. Yes, young
You know
lady.
how they don't celebrate the holidays? Did they get that right?
They did get that right to some extent, yes. Yeah, we're going to talk about all these things. We're going to study about all of this.
There's not a dead Jehovah's Witness that wouldn't give everything you got to come back here and tell these people who's right.
That's right.
Every one of them.
Once you leave this world in death,
Yep.
you get converted real fast.
Yep.
Your theology gets converted real fast. There's no conversion after this. There's no second chance.
No.
But you do know the truth when you leave this world. I can guarantee you. Brother Blanton, would you would you dismiss us in prayer, please, brother?
Sure will. Father, we ask that you bless your word. Bless it in the hearts and minds of each one of us that's here. Give us a zeal to go and to preach it to our friends, our neighbors, and whoever we contact in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. God bless you. I think I gave my card to most of you. If you don't have one, I'll give you one. And you girls don't have one, do you yet?
You gave me one last week.
All right. Did you get one?
Yeah.
All right. There's the website address is on there. Okay, you got one also. All right. If you want to go look at the website, there are other classes I taught on the coast before. You can listen to some of them.
So what,
and then all the
what
Greek
Bible translation do you prefer then?
I just go from Greek and Hebrew.
Oh,
If I use one, New American Standard or Amplified Bible.
a New American Standard?
Yeah.
This
New
is
American- it's made from much better
NIV stop for thought though, but
The
so
New
What?
American
NIV stop for thought I know, but
NIV is pretty good.